Hi guys, it's Rob from Royal Balls. The last of my clutches have hatched, the incubator is turned off, and we've got a couple of clutches to look at. The first one is a het pied to a pied male. This guy was produced 2 years ago. It's a straight pied, although it's very bright, and we wondered what else was in this guy. So I have a clutch from him, and the final clutch of the year is from the mother of this guy. This is my Firefly Enchi Clown that I produced last year, and we were trying to go one better. We paired his mum to a Firefly Enchi Het Clown, and we were hoping to make some stunning quality animals just like this one, or even better. These late season clutches were not brilliant for me. We had a hot spell which seemed to delay ovulations in the females, and they hung on for several months before they gave me some late season clutches, and we did lose eggs in some of those later clutches. But let's see what we have left. Let's take a look at the hatchlings. Okay, this is my 12th clutch of the year. This is a pastel het pied times the Tangerine or Gene X pied from ARP a few years back when he first produced that line of pieds. These late season clutches have not been good for me. I've lost eggs from all of the late season clutches, and this was no exception. There were 4 good eggs, and now there's only 3. I lost 1 egg, and this is day 60. And one of them has already pipped, so we're going to cut the rest just to make sure that they're okay. We're hoping for some visual pieds here, something nice and bright like the Tangerine or Gene X pied dad. You can see the first one here has pipped, so let's put this to one side and we'll start with the egg that has pipped and see what we've got in here. So I'll just go in where this is already cut, and this does not look like a pied. So this looks like just a pastel het pied. Let's take this egg. Come on, let's get a visual pied here. This one is upside down, and is also not a pied. This looks like just another pastel pied. So we've got 1 egg left for a shot at a visual pied. Come on, odds gods, we need a visual pied. Please, 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 visual pied. And yes, this looks like a visual pied. Let's have a look here. Yes, that is a visual pied, and it is quite a bright one. I'm seeing pastel pied there. So we got 1 visual pied. So these can now go back into the incubator. So we've got a pastel visual pied, and we have 2 pastel het pieds there. So there we go, let's stick those back into the incubator. 1 visual pied from that clutch. And the final clutch of the year for me, only 2 eggs left from this clutch. There were 4, 2 of them didn't make it. This is the Pastel Enchi Clown that made those fantastic Firefly Enchi Clowns that you've all seen. And this was paired to a superb quality Firefly Enchi Het for Clown. So we are hoping for a visual clown, but there is the possibility of a het. And you can see the possible combinations there. We could get Superfly, Super Enchi Clown, which would be awesome. let's take a look and see what we got. This is day 58 for this clutch, but I am a little bit worried. They're getting quite dimpled in and dehydrated, so let's take a look. 2 eggs remaining, and I was worried that this one wasn't going to make it, but there is a snake in there and a snake in this one, so let's cut them and see what we got. There we go. Let's start with the crinkled egg. So I'll look and see what we got. There is a snake in here, I can feel it pushing back, so these are just about ready on day 58. And that is not a visual clown. It does have fire and it does have pastel, so it's a firefly. Also looks like enchi, firefly enchi, and that's a het for clown, but a really nice bright one. Come on, I need a visual clown from this clutch. I need a visual, please, please. I didn't look. No, it's not a clown. Oh my goodness. And this one probably just maybe just a pastel het for clown. That's a little bit tragic. So there's the clutch. This is the pick of the bunch. This looks like a firefly enchi. That one's quite nice, and this one just a pastel het for clown. Put those back in the incubator, and we are done for the year. That's a wrap. Okay guys, let's take a quick look at the 3 snakes from the pied clutch, and there are 2 hets in here and 1 visual pied. The visual pied is actually a pastel pied. You can see it's a little bit lighter coloured than a pied would be and has the blushed head stamp. So this is pastel pied, but you can also see that it's quite clean and bright orange. We have to wait and see what this looks like after shed. But remember that Dad was a particularly bright pied from a couple of years ago at ARP when he first started producing what he's now calling his tangerine pieds, and we wondered whether Gene X had perhaps slipped into his collection. So this could well be a pastel, whatever that extra gene is, Gene X pied. We'll wait and see when it sheds what it actually looks like. But you can see in the 2 hets, these are both very obviously pastels, so they're pastel het pieds, but one of them, this one in my right hand here, is much brighter orange than the other one and has a slightly unusual pattern. You see on the dorsal, it's got these little spectacles or dots along the dorsal, which this more banded guy doesn't. This one here is more like what I would have expected from a normal pastel het pied, and this one, again, let's wait for shed, but is slightly unusual. Now that's not uncommon, there's a lot of polymorphic variation in these things. This could just turn out to be an ordinary pastel het pied, but let's wait for shed and see whether it remains brighter than its sibling counterpart. So that's one to watch. If this does turn out to have an extra gene, Gene X, it could be that the visual pied and this het both contain that. But I'm very reluctant to actually attribute this to an extra gene until I'm absolutely certain, so there's still a long way to go on this one. And here are the 2 remaining babies from the clutch that we got from the pastel Enchi clown that was the mother of the Firefly Enchi clowns that we got last year, the really nice quality ones, and we paired her to a Firefly Enchi het for clown male, and I'll show you a picture of him so that you can compare to the offspring. And we got one really nice quality clean looking baby compared to this guy, which is just a pastel. Very similar actually to the pastels that we just looked at in the pied clutch, but this is a straight pastel het for clown, just a single copy of pastel. You see the blushed head there. So we've got pastel het clown. This one is awesome. Look at the pattern on this one, guys. It's really bright, which tells me that it's either fire or super pastel. Obviously it's got white lips and a blushed head stamp, so it is at least one copy of pastel. A super pastel is possible, and that head stamp there just screams super Enchi. You can see the very blocky head stamp, and the pattern here is not just Enchi. This, I believe, is super Enchi, and we'll have a look at some in a moment just to compare. But you can also see very clearly the fire in here, the flames coming up the side, and how those bands extend down. And this is very clean. Fire also, you can see in the tail, extends out the bands in the tail, so you do get a much cleaner tail with fire. So if we look at the head stamp again, this tells me pastel fire at least, so it's Firefly super Enchi, I believe. It is possible that it is super pastel super Enchi and not fire, but I don't think so, because I'm seeing fire here. I'm seeing fire in the head stamp, I'm seeing that arrowhead, but obviously modified by the super Enchi. So this guy here is a super Enchi, super Enchi lesser. And if we compare the pattern on this super Enchi and the pattern on this guy, I think you can see the similarities in pattern. So that's why I'm saying this is super Enchi. If we look at the head stamps, you see, let me just zoom in for you. If we look at the head stamps, you can see that the head stamp on this one is not washed out because there's no pastel, but it has a very characteristic anvil shaped head stamp, which this guy also has. No doubt in my mind that this is a super Enchi, and I think it's Firefly super Enchi, not super pastel super Enchi. Again, I've got another comparison. So this is the super Enchi. This guy here is a super fly, which is super pastel fire, and you can see some similarity in the head stamp. Again, we'll probably have to wait for shed. So no doubt there's fire in this guy. Is it super fly? i.e. 2 copies of pastel with super Enchi. I think it's super Enchi, I think it's fire, and there's at least 1 copy of pastel, but is it 2 copies of pastel? Well, if we look at the super fly, you can see that the pattern on this guy is very distinctive, very broken, reduced pattern with the super pastel fire. This one has a much busier pattern. So this guy here is exactly what we wanted, but we missed the clown version. Unfortunately, it's het for clown, but it is of the same high quality as those Firefly Enchis, and this is either a Firefly super Enchi or a Superfly super Enchi het for clown. Let's wait for shed and see how it turns out. But there is fire, there is pastel, and it is super Enchi. I don't think it's super pastel because we're not seeing enough blushing on the dorsal, but we'll see after shed to see whether that actually does brighten up and give us some clue that this actually might be super pastel as well. So for now I'm calling it a Firefly super Enchi, and we'll see after shed whether it's actually a superfly super enchi. But whatever, it's 1 or 2 genes more than Dad was. This is a Firefly enchi het for clown, and I'll put a picture of him up when he was a hatchling so that you can see what he looked like. But from the moment that he hatched out, we knew this snake was something special. So let's take a look at the Firefly enchi that I produced from that female last season, and you can see that the het version is extremely bright compared to the fire that I used to produce this snake here. So this is the female and this is the male. And I think you can see that by careful selection of the snakes, the genes plus the fact that these are extraordinarily bright versions of their phenotypes, the outcome of this pairing is inevitably going to be awesome. So there we go, guys. Those are the 2 remaining eggs from the Pastel Enchi clown female, the really nice quality clown female, and we did get what we wanted, not the visual clown version. And if any of you have watched Joe Tully's recent genetic video, this snake here represents phase 1. It is the het form, the heterozygous form, and we're going for the homozygous form, so that would be phase 2. We will use this phase 1 snake, pair it probably to a visual clown, and produce our phase 2, which will be the visual clown version of this guy. In your projects, whenever you get something which takes you 1 step closer to your goal, that's a holdback. Just take a closer look at that, because this is an awesome looking snake. I can't wait for this one to shed and show you guys this snake again. So we'll make a decision then as to whether it's Firefly Super Enchi or Superfly Super Enchi. Okay guys, so we did get a visual pied from that clutch, and it is quite a nice one. We'll wait for shed to see what that looks like. And for the clown, we missed the visual clown unfortunately with just 2 remaining eggs, but we did get a rather stunning het which carries the same quality and cleanliness as both the parents. Unfortunately, it is a male and adds only 1 gene to the existing male, so as far as the project goes, that snake is probably not going to be useful. We can already reproduce that without too much difficulty. If it had been a female, we would definitely have kept it. If it had been a visual clown, that would have increased our odds for the next clutch, using a visual clown instead of a het. But unfortunately, it's a male and it's a het. It's a really nice one. So we'll wait until that sheds and I'll update you on those. And I'm also going to do a review of my 2021 season. I'll give you a best of 2021, and we'll also include some of the pickups that I made. You can get a feel for the direction some of my projects and my collection is going. These snakes will be used in forthcoming seasons, so it'll give you a clear idea of where I'm headed. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.